What happens when Hollywood royalty collides with royal controversy? Live, uncensored, and in front of millions. Today, we're unpacking one of the most jaw-dropping moments in daytime TV history, where Angelina Jolie delivered a quiet storm of class and clarity while exposing the cracks in Meghan Markle's well-rehearsed narrative. The air was electric. By the end, one woman left with applause echoing behind her, and the other left visibly shaken, her talking points in ruins. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and buckle in. Because this interview wasn't just awkward, it was history in the making. The View studio was humming with energy. The familiar theme faded as the camera panned to Whoopi Goldberg at the center of the table, flanked by Joy Behar, Sarah Haynes, Alyssa Farah Griffin, and Sunny Hostin. But today's energy wasn't just anticipation, it was something heavier, as if everyone felt something unscripted was about to erupt. "Ladies and gentlemen," Whoopi said with that signature gravity in her voice, "we're joined today by two very special guests. Please welcome actress, director, and humanitarian, Angelina Jolie." The audience roared as Angelina entered, grace in motion. Her presence was effortless, yet commanding. She smiled, waved softly, and took her seat. "And joining her," Whoopi continued, "the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle." Meghan emerged from backstage smiling, bright, polished, but calculated. Every detail had been managed: the outfit, the posture, the media-ready composure. Yet there was something tight in her gaze, like she'd come ready for battle, not conversation. As the two women sat side by side, the contrast was immediate. Angelina radiated calm. Meghan, controlled, but rehearsed. You could almost see her prepping sound bites before speaking. Joy Behar jumped in. "Angelina, you're here to talk about your new film centered on refugee advocacy. Meghan, you've got a Netflix docu-series dropping. Two different projects, but both very socially driven." Angelina smiled gently. "Thank you for having me. Yes, the film is deeply personal. I've spent over 2 decades working in refugee camps. I wanted to shine a light on the people, not just the policy." Sarah Haynes nodded. "Your UN work has been inspiring," Angelina continued. "I've met people who've lost everything, yet carry more courage than I've seen in any courtroom or red carpet. That's the story I wanted to tell." Meghan leaned forward, her cue. "I completely understand that passion. My journey's been eye-opening too, especially around women's empowerment and mental health. People don't always see how isolating it is to be vilified when you're just trying to make a difference." The pivot was unmistakable. A moment meant for Angelina was now circling back to Meghan's personal grievances. The panel caught it. So did the audience. Sunny Hostin jumped in gracefully. "Both of you have used your platforms for powerful causes. Meghan, tell us more about your Netflix project." "It's really about authenticity," Meghan said, her voice taking on that carefully modulated TED Talk tone. "It's about breaking systems that silence women, especially women of color. Institutions love smiling in public while crushing you in private." The message was clear. A shot fired, thinly veiled, Alyssa Farah Griffin, sharp and politically seasoned, recognized the weight behind the statement. "That's a bold theme. Angelina, in your global work, have you faced similar institutional pushback?" Angelina didn't flinch. "Real impact comes when the focus stays on the people, not the pushback. I've found that when you show up, consistently, quietly, you earn trust. Refugees I've met don't have the luxury of institutions. They build resilience from the dirt up." It wasn't an attack, but it landed like one. A quiet contrast between spotlight activism and selfless service. Meghan's smile faltered, just slightly. "Of course," she said tightly, "but some of us have to fight battles on multiple fronts. When you're constantly slandered while doing good work, it takes a toll." "Character assassination is a strong term," Joy Behar pressed. Are you talking about specific instances? I'm referring to a pattern, Meghan replied, voice steady but tinged with defensiveness. A campaign of gaslighting and obstruction when I tried to modernize outdated institutions while also facing racial bias. The audience was silent. This wasn't a conversation anymore. It was a reckoning. Whoopi stepped in. Let's bring it back to your current work. Angelina, your film drops next month? Yes, Angelina said calmly. I hope it encourages grassroots support for refugees. Real change starts when everyday people get involved. It was another subtle rebuke. Action over attention. Meghan shifted in her seat, clearly feeling the power balance tilt. Her trademark framing, victimhood as virtue, wasn't resonating. You know, Meghan snapped, it's easy to talk about grassroots change when you haven't lived through institutional racism and been attacked just for existing. Not everyone gets glowing press. Some of us have had to fight tooth and nail to be heard. The shot was direct. And the room? Frozen. Angelina remained composed, but her gaze sharpened. Are you implying that my work has been easy because I didn't face negative media? I'm saying not everyone starts with the same privilege, Meghan replied, doubling down. When palace sources leak against you and your own family won't defend you, it's a different fight. Sarah Haynes looked genuinely uncomfortable. That's a serious allegation about the royal family. They're facts, Meghan said firmly. Some of us weren't allowed to pick our causes. We were silenced before we could speak about the issues that mattered. Mental health, racism, basic dignity. It was clear. Meghan was implying that Angelina's decades of work were somehow less earned. Whoopi sensed danger. Ladies, maybe we take a beat. But Angelina raised a hand gently. No, it's all right. She turned to Meghan, steady and unwavering. I've spent 20 years in war zones. I've held children who died in my arms. I've been in refugee camps where the rain pours through broken tents. I've been threatened, vilified, called every name in the tabloids. But I never made my pain the headline when the world was burning around me. The silence was deafening. Even the production crew had stopped moving. Angelina continued. The people I serve, they don't have Netflix deals. They don't have royal titles. They don't sit on talk shows. They have nothing. But they still try, every day, to live with dignity. Meghan's face drained of color. I think you're misunderstanding, she said, scrambling to reframe. I'm not dismissing your work. I'm just saying not all barriers are visible. Like the barrier of being born in a war zone? Angelina asked softly. Like burying your siblings before age 10? Like walking across deserts to escape violence, hoping your child lives one more day? Joy Behar blinked, stunned. This wasn't an interview anymore. This was truth, unfiltered. That's not what I meant, Meghan insisted. Obviously, those situations are horrific. But I'm talking about media manipulation, emotional abuse, gaslighting from inside your own home. You were isolated, Angelina replied. In a palace, with staff, with health care, with every resource imaginable, with a media empire ready to hear you. And somehow you became the center of the suffering. Sunny Hostin tried to soften the edges. I think Meghan's expressing that privilege doesn't erase pain, that family trauma and racism are valid forms of suffering too. They absolutely are, Angelina agreed instantly. And they deserve compassion. But when the platform is humanitarian suffering, maybe, just maybe, we focus on those who have no voice at all. The line struck like lightning. Meghan froze. Her mouth opened slightly. The sympathy she'd expected evaporated. I can't believe you said that, Meghan finally whispered. You don't know what I've been through. You have no idea how much it hurt. You're right, Angelina said, her voice a quiet storm. I don't. But I know what it's like to meet a mother who can't produce milk because she hasn't eaten in days. I know girls who've survived trafficking only to be ignored by the world. I know children who wake up screaming from genocide. And just like that, the room wasn't silent. It was reverent. Angelina hadn't just spoken. She'd shifted the narrative and reminded everyone what true humanitarianism actually looks like. The comparison was brutal in its clarity. Alyssa Farah Griffin, seasoned by years in Washington, knew a pivotal moment when she saw one. "Angelina, how do you stay focused on your work while navigating personal hardship?" she asked. Angelina didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. Her eyes were locked on Meghan. "You remember why you started," she said evenly. "You remind yourself that your personal pain, no matter how real, doesn't outweigh the suffering of those with no voice, no platform, and no resources. You use whatever privilege you have to serve others, not yourself." Meghan's face flushed deep red. Her carefully composed exterior began to crack. "So you're saying my pain doesn't matter? That speaking about racism or mental health is selfish?" "I'm saying," Angelina responded calmly, "that when we're talking about humanitarian work, the focus should be on the people in need, not how hard it's been for you to help them. Real service means putting their needs above your narrative." The air in the studio turned electric. This wasn't just a disagreement. It was a head-on collision of worldviews. Whoopi tried to mediate. "Ladies, I think we all care deeply about important causes," but Meghan wasn't done. "I think it's incredibly privileged to suggest that someone shouldn't talk about their struggles, especially when those struggles impact their ability to help others. My story empowers women of color. It tells them they're not alone." "Your story does matter," Angelina agreed, to everyone's surprise. "But so do the stories of the people you say you're helping. And in the last 15 minutes, we've heard more about your personal grievances than we have about the people your documentary claims to support." It hit like a sniper shot. Meghan sat frozen, her mouth slightly open. Even the seasoned panelists looked stunned by the pinpoint accuracy of Angelina's words. "That's not fair," Meghan muttered. "You're trying to make it seem like I don't care about the people I'm helping." "Am I?" Angelina asked. "Because in the 20 minutes we've been sitting here, you've brought up your own struggles 15 times. You've mentioned the communities you claim to help exactly twice, and both times, only to highlight how their stories mirror your own." Sarah Haynes glanced at her notes, nodding subtly. "The math checked out. Context matters," Meghan said, voice rising. "People need to understand what I overcame to appreciate the work I'm doing." "Do they?" Angelina pressed, leaning forward slightly. "When I make a film about refugees, do I spend interviews talking about how hard it was to get funding, or how exhausting the travel was? Or do I center the people and the crisis?" Everyone on that panel already knew the answer. Angelina had always centered others. "That's different," Meghan pushed back. But even she could feel the argument slipping. "You don't know the pressures of the royal family." "You're right. I don't," Angelina replied. "But I do know the pressure of being a single mother working in war zones. I know what it's like to have every decision picked apart by tabloids, every relationship, every adoption, every parenting choice questioned. I know what it's like to be scrutinized, dismissed, and misunderstood for over 2 decades. The silence was deafening. But the difference is," she continued, "I learned early that my pain, no matter how intense, is not the story. When I advocate for people fighting for survival, the story is them. Always them." Meghan was visibly shaken now. Her posture slumped, her voice uneven. "So I should just be quiet about racism, about the mental health issues I faced?" "I think," Angelina said, pausing deliberately, "there's a time and place for personal stories, and a time and place for selfless advocacy. True advocates know the difference. Joy Behar, unusually quiet until now, chimed in. Angelina, that's a strong take. Are you saying personal experience can't guide advocacy? Not at all, Angelina answered. Personal experience should guide advocacy. But there's a difference between using your story to elevate others and using others' pain to elevate yourself. The line was surgical. Devastating. Meghan visibly recoiled. I came here to highlight serious issues, Meghan said, her voice trembling. Instead, I'm being attacked for sharing my truth. No one's attacking. You, Sonny Hostin interjected gently. This is just a passionate exchange about how we advocate. But Angelina wasn't finished. Meghan, she said, can you right now tell us what your documentary is about without mentioning your personal experience? What exact issues does it tackle? What communities are helped? What solutions are being offered? The questions hung like daggers in the air. Meghan opened her mouth, then closed it, then tried again. It's about empowering women to speak their truth against systemic oppression. Which systems? Angelina asked. What forms of oppression? Which communities? What measurable outcomes? What's actually changing because of this? Each question was another layer peeled back. Each one revealed the same truth. Meghan's project seemed more about personal redemption than collective progress. I don't think I should have to justify my humanitarian work to someone minimizing my experience, Meghan snapped, slipping into a defensive pout far from her usual polish. I'm not minimizing your experience, Angelina replied. I'm asking you to separate advocacy from autobiography. Are you helping people or just narrating your own healing process? The distinction hit hard, so hard that even Meghan looked like she finally understood. Alyssa Farah Griffin jumped in, recognizing the moment. I think we're witnessing something important here. A lesson in the difference between service and self-promotion. Exactly, Angelina said, turning to the camera. When we have privilege, platforms, and power, we have a choice. We can use them to amplify the unheard, or we can use others' struggles to amplify ourselves. The camera panned back to Meghan, who sat in stunned silence. Her entire media push had just unraveled, live on air. Whoopi, sensing it was time to cut to commercial, tried to close. Well, that was certainly an eye-opening conversation about the weight of public responsibility. It was, Angelina agreed, then turned to Meghan one last time. And I truly hope your documentary helps the people it's supposed to, because in the end, that's what this should all be about. The comment was graceful on the surface, but underneath, it was a direct challenge. Meghan forced a smile and mumbled a quiet, "Thank you," but the damage was done. Her moment had backfired. Completely. As the cameras cut and the show moved to break, the applause was immediate, but not universal. The ovation belonged to one woman, Angelina Jolie. She had shown poise, precision, and a level of conviction that dismantled performative activism in real time. Without ever raising her voice, without ever losing control. In under 30 minutes, one of Hollywood's most respected humanitarians had calmly taken apart one of the world's most image-conscious self-narrators, and the world noticed. So, what did you think of that jaw-dropping moment? Was Angelina right to draw the line between service and self-promotion? Or should she have let Meghan's message stand unchallenged? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more moments that pull back the curtain on what really happens when the cameras are rolling.